But she'd been raised by Scripture, and had been taught that betting was against God's law. It was against common sense, too, as she knew for herself. At the pub where she and Lawrence stopped on their nights out, she'd seen Mr. Starkey, who earned 10 shillings a week, lay down 5 on a horse, while 8 little Starkeys shivered at home for want of coal. And Mrs. Hartop, the old woman who swept Dedham High Street for 9 shillings a week, was regular with her half-crown, though she couldn't pay the butcher. Betting took money from the poor, Amelia did not doubt, and the parson was right to bang on his drum and shout out its evils, even though not a soul was listening. But Lady Charles Sheridan, whom Amelia served as lady's maid, had given her a holiday today, and Amelia was carrying a ruffled white sunshade and wearing her best sprigged muslin with a blue shawl and white cotton gloves. Her own Lawrence, dressed in a fine grey coat and bright blue trousers, had been given the important job of helping Lord Charles Sheridan photograph the finish of the Derby Stakes, and since men had laid down their money since the beginning of time, and would go on laying it down, whether their wives wished it or not, the practical Amelia set her qualms aside, and happily applied herself to the enjoyment of the Derby, counting the crown that Lawrence had dropped into the bookmaker's satchel as the price of their admission. But behind all the revelry, above the music, beneath all the whooping and cheering of the great noisy mob, she could hear Badger's stentorian voice behind her. "On the Derby! On the Derby! Bet the Derby now!" Chapter 2. The Bookmaker. He was dubbed the Lord Chesterfield, but a better name would be the Talleyrand of the Ring. A list of his smart sayings would choke up the British Museum, and I never saw him nonplussed but once, and that was when a railway guard wanted 2 points over the odds. Well do I remember the first wager I had with him. "Take care of your ticket, sir," he chanted in his most dulcet tones, "or some evildoer will relieve you of it." The last time the chant was in the minor key. "Here, take your bloomin' customs somewhere else. I'm tired of paying you." When the history of this man comes to be written, it will be told how he defied the stewards of the Jockey Club on their native heath, and played the noble game of spoof with Her Majesty's police. Edward Spencer Mott, quoted in Old Pinken Days. J.B. Booth. For his part, Alfred Day, also known as Badger, was having a fine derby. He looked well, he felt well, and so besides his clerk was holding a bulging satchel. And why shouldn't he feel well and happy with his lot in life? Over the past half-dozen years, Badger's various enterprises, some of them legal, some of them not, had prospered. The bookmaking business, which had begun as a convenient front for his other activities, had particularly flourished. In addition to his Newmarket headquarters, he had opened 2 other offices in London, and he now employed several men to take wagers for him at the track. But the fact that Badger could hire helpers didn't mean that he might absent himself from the ring. No, indeed. No matter how much money he might make, or how much leisure it might buy, he preferred to be where the action was. And what sweeter action might there be in this world than wagering on the Derby, the blue ribbon of the turf, the grandest event in racing? He raised his hand in a commanding gesture. "Bet on the Derby!" he cried. "Bet on the Derby here!" A young gentleman stepped out of the crowd in front of him. "Ah, there you are, Badger," he said expansively, and Badger saw that he was a little drunk. "Mrs. Lillie Langtry would like to put 100 more on Gladiator. What are the odds, my good man?" "The odds, my lord," Badger said, "are 66 to 1. He pursed his lips. He'd studied the form, of course, and hadn't seen any reason to offer anything more favourable on the unspectacular colt, a lazy runner who'd finished at the back of the field in all but one of his previous outings, so poor a show that one had to wonder why Lord Hunt had bothered to enter him. Even so, there had been quite a run on the outsider in the last hour. The horse's owner had bet heavily, and the stable too, followed by several other large wagers. Badger had already begun to think that a game of one sort or another was afoot, and now came Mrs. Langtry with yet another wager. It was enough to raise a bookmaker's suspicions. Still, it was out of the question to reject Mrs. Langtry's custom, even though she had not yet settled her losses from Kempton.